My name is Diaz, and I'm going to be presenting white-collar crimes. My introduction to my presentation starts with, what is a white-collar crime? A white-collar crime is the financial gain from one individual to another. From pulling off from this white-collar crimes, I'm going to be talking about specifically fraud. Fraud is a deception of financial gain from one individual to another. The connection between white-collar crimes and fraud is that they both deal with the financial gain of an individual. The difference is that in fraud, we have the deception of the financial gain. I'm going to be focusing on how fraud is involved in our daily lifestyle, starting with our hospitals, our insurance policies, going even into our tax violations. Moving on to my topic of the presentation, I'm going to be discussing how large organizations, such as healthcare organizations and tax preparation organizations, have been committing fraud within communities. So, fun fact is that for the past 7 years, fraud has increased 10% for every year. To be focusing on the healthcare facilities and organizations as the tax preparations, they have grown very large in certain communities in the Los Angeles County. In my case, I am focusing in the community of Baldwin Park, in which there has been a vast majority of increase from these large organizations. For example, we've in the total Baldwin Park, in the community of Baldwin Park, we have a total of 3 Kaisers, we have a Kindred Hospital, and we have over 49 statistically reported tax preparation individuals. So this is something that we're going to be talking about, and how these organizations are committing fraud to Baldwin Park. And this, keeping in mind, is that Baldwin Park is a community filled with minorities, Hispanics, and basically a low-income community. And these health facilities have made their way in there to elevate their investments and their money procedures and their financial gain. Okay, so moving on to my theory section, I'm going to be describing 2 different theories. The first one being string theory, which is defined by Angu on how certain individuals will lean into committing something due to the cause of negative emotion. My theory number 2 is rational choice theory, which is identified by Cesar Vicaria on how individuals will weigh out the options and the cost of their action that they will commit. So these 2 theories have been researched by many articles that I read, that they have an interaction of why and how companies such as a healthcare system company and tax preparation commit the crime of fraud, and how those different stressors from the individuals that work for these companies, and how they have to, lay out their options, will still commit fraud, and why they commit fraud. The reason why will be described in the methods section. Let's just to follow up on how fraud is seen and is foreseen in the healthcare system and in the tax preparation. So moving on to the methods section for my presentation, I'm going to be implementing on all 3 of my interviews that I have chosen and I have done. Both of the theories that I have mentioned before, string theory and rational choice theory. In my first interview, I interviewed an LVN who has over 30 years of experience, who has underseen how the facility that he works in commits fraud by adding specific like bills into a patient's card, and I have to obviously pay for it, even though they didn't utilize those services. The second interviewee is based as a worker who is a tax preparator and files the taxes for certain individuals, and she works for this tax preparation company, and she actually herself understands that she is committing fraud, but she basically knows that because of the company is protecting her and the license agreement that the clients are signing, there is no way around it, and that there is no way that they would open a case against her. And I implemented rational choice theory on her. My last interview was actually very interesting. It was based on a lawyer who currently works for one of the health facilities, Kaiser to be exact. He has been part of the creating policies for their insurance policies, and I explained to him on how string theory, I wanted to use string theory to identify fraud, and he basically stated how if he really wanted to go deep down, his strength started beginning in his internship. So we see how even as when he was younger, in his internship, he undergoes strain. For my last section of my presentation, I'm going to be talking about my approach. My approach is based on prevention, and before I get to it, I have to say that based on other research that I conducted, I've seen how there has been a lot of activism going on in this issue of how these facilities and these organizations have been committing fraud, although they have not been successful. So the way that I was thinking about was utilizing the social media platform and creating, like a big platform saying, hey, this is fraud, this is what's going on, and make our community aware, especially in Baldwin Park where there's a lot of low-income people, but most of these low-income people gain their news through Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram, all these social media platforms where we can have these individuals express themselves and maybe cause some type of attention to authorities and follow up with these companies and see how we can do it to stop it